Small Town Expectations. We are especially excited because a lot of stuff has happened just the last couple of days. And, tis the season right now. My name is Brandi Rose. I'm excited to be here along with my partner, Haley Bassing.
Hello.
So we want to remind you that you can keep up to date with what's going on by following us on lots of different social media sites, like Twitter. We do have a Twitter now. It's smalltownexpectations_podcast. Just, type in Small Town Expectations Podcast. It'll pop up, and follow us on the Twitter. Also, Facebook. We have a ton of follows on Facebook. We worked very hard at sending out a bunch of invites. And so if you are somebody who got one of those invites and now you're listening to the podcast, go ahead and just forward that on to some more folks because, we want lots of people to be listening to all of these stories and all of these experiences that we get to share here on Small Town Expectations. You can follow us on Instagram where we give you highlights and post a couple different photos of the folks who have recently gotten very vulnerable and shared their story with you. So that's what you can follow on Instagram. On Snapchat, I'm Rad Brandi. Haley is Hales Bassing. You can follow both of us on Snapchat. But we're not we'll just mostly send snaps of our dog, really. Yep. If you want to see Ellen Dog, you just follow us on Snapchat. And then, of course, check out the website, radbrandi.com, just in case you know somebody who doesn't have an iTunes app or an iPhone. That's the word I was looking for.
We just this last... right before Thanksgiving, I looked it up, and I think we're on Google Play now. So regardless of what type of device you have, you should be able to find the Small Towns Expectation podcast.
Yeah, on any kind of podcasting forum, I guess. So, definitely share this with your friends and your family and your tribe, just, because everyone, again, should be listening to these experiences. Don't forget to rate us on Apple iTunes. That's how we actually move up in the rankings of how easy it is for people to find us. And also, we move up and so more people see it. So make sure that you rate the podcast and just say a little something in the description so that it gets it a little bit extra traction. We just appreciate that. It's not, to make us feel all ooey gooey inside. It's really just so that more people can see this and hear the experiences and stories of the folks that get vulnerable.
Yeah. And subscribe. Then you don't have to worry about it. Then our device does what it does best and lives our life for us. And it'll pop up and say that we post a new podcast every other Sunday.
Then you don't even have to dig for it. Mm-hmm. It just happens.
Yep.
Organically.
Just click on it.
And if you are somebody who wants to be on this wonderful little podcast, you can email us at smalltownpodcast@yahoo.com. That's the best place to reach us. And let us know that you're interested in being on the podcast. We will connect with you, ask you a bunch of questions, and then set up a time for you to record.
Yeah. It's exciting. We have our next two guests are lined up already.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I know. It's very exciting. And it's really neat when I went in just this last week to Haley's school just to pick something up. And I've met her before. Just kind of a lady who doesn't necessarily know me on any kind of level. She was shouts I love the podcast, and it made me feel really good to know that there are people that are really listening.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, is that we want to know that you're listening. So just drop us something on Twitter or drop us something on the Facebooks or whatever, just to let us know that you're listening and where you're listening from, whether it's from Farmington or a surrounding area or from anywhere else in the country or world. We want to know where you're listening from, and just so we can connect with you just a little bit more.
Yeah. Brandi got a phone call sometime this week. I don't even know who it was or what it was. It was about Chad's podcast.
Yes. Chad called me.
Oh.
And was like, Bran, I just listened to Jen's show.
Oh, yeah.
And man, I could relate to her on so many different levels. And I loved that episode. He's like, that's one of my favorite episodes now. And he just was like, she just sounds like a neat lady. And he's just saying all kinds of stuff, really cool stuff about Jen's episode.
It's cool.
Yeah,
cool experience.
It was.
That's why we do it.
It is. It was really, he didn't call for any other reason, just to say, hey, I just listened to that episode, Brandon. I really like it. I was like, awesome.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. So we also, we want to just share a little bit with you about what's happening in our lives and just kind of the communities that we oftentimes find ourselves in. And this week, we want to highlight local stuff that's happening in our community. Just in the last couple of days, there's lots of Christmas stuff, lots of holiday stuff, really, happening here local in Farmington area. The Christmas parade. We heard from some folks that it's the biggest turnout for a parade that Farmington has had in years.
Yeah. I think Devin said he's never seen a parade that full with the exception of Kaimak, which is a big deal in our small town.
Yeah, it's neat. It's cool because it was freezing cold. And so just something is just driving people out right now.
It's free.
It's free. Yeah, that's part of it. One of our neighbors came over and was talking to us just the other day and saying that Farmington has felt like a really weird ghost town kind of thing. And so then he works on Main Street and he's like, man, it was like just people showed up for the parade. He's like, so it's good to know that Farmington hasn't been deserted yet and that there's actually folks out there. And so maybe this will just kind of, get people moving and grooving again. So he was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
Being a business owner on Main Street, that's a tough thing.
It's cool that our community is getting involved.
Yeah, for sure.
Community
and
stuff.
Then there was the River Glow, which is a huge deal at Berg Park. It's beautiful. There's live music. And I heard there was a huge turnout there, which is also just a really neat thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cold outside.
Yeah. Piedra Vista just wrapped up all of their student-directed shows. And I just want to brag on those kids for just a second because so I just get to know these students through Haley and through that theater program. But these are really seriously talented students, talented young people, teenagers. They literally write an entire script, produce it, direct it, make the props for it, make the playbill, make the tickets. They do it all from start to finish. And I just think that's something that's really unique to PV right now, that there is a directing class and it's just something that gets to really just cast this big shining light on these really talented students.
Yeah. Well, of course, the kids make fun of me because I say that the tech theater class is my favorite class, which, I don't know, there's probably 40% of our students that are in a combination of the tech class or the directing class or the advanced acting class. So, we brag on everybody a little bit. But they tech all of our shows, then they do that for every show. It's how that class is designed, that they stage manage and run lights and run sound. And the director and I, we just sit in the audience and text each other. We make sure we don't sit next to each other. Otherwise, we just sit there and whisper the entire show and ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
But
it's important.
It's good. I hope people come and check out the high school. These kids.
It was a good Christmas show. It was called The Misadventures of Christmas, right? Christmas Eve. So each, there was a theme to all of these shows, but the students did a phenomenal job. Like I can't brag on these kids enough. They're just really talented from every single aspect of that show. I just am so proud of them.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Yeah. And then just a couple other things happening in our community. And we want to encourage you to check out the City of Farmington's Facebook page because that's where they list all of this stuff. And then, of course, check out your local, wherever you are, check out your city's Facebook page because I guarantee they have stuff happening during the holiday season.
'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. So if you're listening today, the day that we actually put these podcasts up, publish. There we go. December 2nd, 2018. You can head over to the Civic Center because they're lighting that big giant Christmas tree that's right outside by the skating rink right now. And just check that out. It's a free event and there'll probably be people singing and caroling, all of those things. So if that's something you really enjoy, you can check that out tonight. And then, of course, visit other Facebook pages and things to find out what else is happening in your local communities. Oh, Festival of Trees.
Where are you going to...
Yes, I want to talk about Festival of Trees. I almost forgot. I was about to move into introducing our next guest. But let's tell you about Festival of Trees, because this is really cool. I'm still a little bit on a high from this. So Festival of Trees is something that in our community, all of the, not all, but most organizations and businesses will donate a decorated Christmas tree, and they always have a theme. And sometimes there's prizes underneath the tree. Sometimes it's just a tree that's full of hundreds of dollars of gift cards,
or cash.
Yeah, there's cash trees. It's just a cool time. And then there's events every day that happen with this Festival of Trees. This event is over, but something really cool happened this year. So EJ, you guys remember him from a couple episodes ago. Myself and my sister Kitty, we head out to the Festival of Trees on Friday night, and it's just something that my family always does. And we drop you actually get to bid on some of the trees by purchasing these little tickets that you drop into buckets, and then they have drawings on the Saturday during the day, and it's a big giant event. Like, they were live streaming this event. I didn't know that. I think I wish I would have known that, because we would have been going bonkers because we won a tree. So cool. We won the Fortnite tree, which was a coveted tree. There we go. Coveted tree. It was a tree that a lot of people wanted. She's giving me a look like, what the heck are you talking about, Brandi? So this was a tree that a lot of people wanted. It was a giant deal, apparently. And, we're dropping our tickets in. And at the end of it, my sister and I, we have a kind of a little stack of tickets that we still have left that have our name and our phone number on it. And we ask Ej, where do you want to take some of these? And he's like, oh, how about this one and this one and the Fortnite tree? I really want the Fortnite tree. And he's making a really big deal about this Fortnite tree. We were making a big deal about a couple of the other trees, but that one in particular, that's what makes this so cool, is then, we have Ellen Dog's birthday party. That can be something we talk about later, because that was a hoot.
It was good.
Yeah. And of course you can see pictures of that, just because we love our dogs so stinking much. But we have her birthday party, and then we're just chilling at the house, and we get a call that we won a tree, and it's the Fortnite tree, and they're freaking out, and they're so excited for us, and we're like, okay, I don't know what that means, because I can't remember what that tree looked like. So we head down, we pick up the tree. It was so, so cool. My nephew, that's the tree that they're using for Christmas this year. He is so stinking stoked about this tree. So yeah, it feels good to win something. Like, I still am kind of floating from it. I don't know. I love winning.
It's cool. It's a cool event.
It was.
The Festival of Trees.
And okay, let's talk about the really important stuff about this Festival of Trees. It gives so much money to Presbyterian Medical Services. That's who hosts it. That's who it benefits. And so really the community turns out, and the Presbyterian Medical Services it's probably the biggest fundraiser that they have. And so that's what keeps their doors open and them able to offer very, very inexpensive, oftentimes free services to folks without insurance and, who need mental health, dental, eye services, all of those things. They're able to offer those services for free to most people.
Which is cool.
Yeah. So that's something that's really neat happening in our local little community. What's happening in your community? Let us know on Facebook, or you can let us know on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Visit us and let us know the cool things that you are experiencing in your communities this holiday season. And in the meantime, let's introduce our guest. Her name is Stephanie. She is one of my closest friends for a significant time in my life. I had just moved back from Texas, and I was a youth minister. I was really lonely, just not really having close friends after I moved away. And it really was just because, we all have different important things now. All the people that I was really close with before I moved to Texas, then I moved back, and we just have different priorities at that point. And so sort of organically and naturally, I meet this wonderful human being. Her name is Stephanie, and we just hit it off quick, and we become really, really close friends very quickly. And and we got to share in our lonely kind of singleness. And it wasn't always lonely. We do talk a little bit about being single and how that was kind of a struggle sometimes, but we were able to encourage each other through that. And also we were so content in our singleness that it was okay. And so we talk a little bit about that. And it's just wonderful to know that this really genuinely wonderful human is doing so well now. You get to hear her story. She's married, she has a baby, and she tells you a little bit about those things. So please enjoy, and here's Stephanie.
We are
A friend for a long time. This is one of my very good friends, Stephanie. So
Hi there, America.
hey, America!
Hey, America.
Oh, Steph, can you just tell all of the world, America mostly, how old you are and where you grew up?
Okay, I am Stephanie. I am currently 35 years young.
Ooh, yeah, girl.
That's debatable. I am from Farmington, New Mexico.
Yeah. So were you born in Farmington?
Yes, I was. I was born here, but I lived in a small town in Arizona, Kayenta, which is closer to Monument Valley. A lot of people know that. Up until the 7th grade, and then so 8th grade I moved here.
So where did you go to school when you were in Kayenta? Okay, so, and just so everybody understands, Kayenta is a reservation town. It's really tiny. It's a very small community of people. You probably know, or you knew, at least your family knew every person in that town pretty much.
Pretty much at that point, yes.
Yeah.
So they only, at that one, I think they only had one school system. So it was the Kayenta Middle School, Kayenta Elementary School.
And was it all of those schools combined into one?
No, they were separate.
Okay.
They were all separate, but you moved through the schools.
Yeah. So how old were you when you moved to Farmington?
8th grade, so that must have been 12 or 13
Yeah,
years old,
yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Cool. And you have older siblings, right? Tell us a little bit about tell us about your family.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Steph has really just phenomenal parents, I think. And that's something that I have always really cherished is the baby moments that I've got to spend with your mom, or seeing her at church, that kind of stuff. And so tell us a little bit about your parents.
Okay, so my parents, my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years up until, so I'm 12 and 13 years age difference from my brothers.
Yeah.
My parents thought they were done, and then whoa, here I am. It's funny because my mom thought she had cancer, but nope, it was just me.
It was a baby.
It's a baby, yeah. And so I pretty much kind of grew up as an only child because by the time I reached like 6 or 7 years old, I have 2 brothers. They had already moved out on their own. They had their own apartments. They had finished school. So I was pretty much kind of by myself growing up, but I wasn't exactly because I had my cousins and that sort of thing. But excuse me. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom with me for until probably like 1st grade or 2nd grade is when I started going to school, and then she, didn't have a whole lot to do. So she volunteered at the school. Okay. So she was like lunch lady. I started during lunch, and she would come to all my classroom activities, and I always remember my mom being there. And then when I got into like the little bit older grades, like 5th or 6th grade, she started working at a daycare. So I got to go see her after school, and it was still tied right into the school, so I still saw her all the time. My dad was a coal miner for a lot of years at Black Mesa coal mining, I think is what it was. I actually can't even remember what it was called, but he worked there for a lot of years. And my dad was very much like me. He was stubborn. I don't know how to explain it, but my dad was pretty much the head of the household and kept us in line when we needed to. And then my mom was there.
He was very strong-willed.
He was very strong-willed.
Yeah,
yes.
And as soon as you said he was like me, I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yes, absolutely. So I get that kind of from him. And he was my enabler in one of my secrets, I guess. Well, I guess it's not a secret. Everybody knows that I pretty much love pickles.
Yeah. First of all, number one, that's not a secret. And number two, that is an understatement to say that you love pickles. So that's seriously one of my very favorite stories that you have is a story about eating a bunch of pickles. So share that story.
So I'm like in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I can't quite remember, but I stayed home from school because I was sick. And when I say my dad was my enabler, I was his little girl. Like there was nothing that he wouldn't do for me. And he always bought me pickles. Like this was something that him and my mom were always in disagreements about because my mom was like, quit buying her pickles. And he, of course, would do it. He wouldn't do it. So this particular day, I stayed home from school and I was home with my mom and my dad walks in with this huge giant gallon of pickles and I was like, yes, thank you, Dad. That's why I love you.
And you only ate like 1 or 2 pickles, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I ate the whole jar and I drank all the juice.
And did it make you barf?
It absolutely made me so sick. I threw up I don't know how many times that day, and my mom was so mad at me.
Okay, because the only thing I can think of is, like, whenever all of the electrolytes in your body and stuff neutralize, like, all of the stuff in your stomach was on that very opposite end of, like, acidic and not acidic. I can't think. I'm really smart, y'all. But do you know what I mean?
I do.
It was on that other side, and it had to have made you so sick.
It did. It absolutely, because at that age, indulging in something you love, you don't know when to stop. You just know you love it, and you want more.
Yeah.
You want more until there's no more, and that's exactly what happened. I made myself so sick.
And you were sweating pickles?
That's what my mom claims. I want to say.
Oh, girl, you had to have been perspirating.
I was
pickles.
perspirating pickles. My breath smelled like pickles. Everything smelled like pickles. I smelled for like a week, is what my mom said. And to this day, my mom will not eat a pickle. She will not.
All because of that moment?
All because of that moment. I ruined it for her the rest of her life.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that part of the story.
She will not do it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she will not do it. So my dad was very much big influence on me, and he was my enabler. Like I said, he always was there with the pickles, and not only that, but throughout my entire life, he was always there when I needed something.
Yeah.
Especially like if my car broke down, he would be there fixing. I mean, he would, of course, get mad at me for whatever I did, but he would always be there and fix it, not fix it, help me, and taught us a bunch of stuff, how to fix cars and change oil and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've always admired, that you are an independent woman. You are 100%. And we really started to get to know each other and became, like best friends. Whenever I think you're just like 2 years older than me, right? And so let's see, I think I was like 29 when we became friends, and you are a very independent woman. You can change a flat tire. You can change your oil. You can, like, all of those things. And I really admire that about you. And that all comes from your dad.
It does.
It just comes from a solid upbringing from your parents. Just paying attention to you. It's cool.
Absolutely. One of the things that I absolutely value and I think was important in me growing up is that my parents, the both of them had the patience to just let us be who we are. You know, there's times where when we lived on the reservation and we had to travel to Farmington, which was like 2 hours away, there's this one memory I can remember. I bought a new bike and I was a little girl and I was so excited, so excited to ride my bike. Like I couldn't even wait. And so what happened was my dad just pulled over just somewhere on some dirt road and just let me ride my bike. And I was going in circles until the sun started to go down.
Yes.
And my dad was like, okay, it's time to go. And then, you know, like that kind of thing. They just let us be who we were. And there's my parents for a little bit lived in California, and my family's a big LA fan. Dodgers to be specific.
Yeah.
And
again, another understatement. We can get into that in a minute.
sure. And so it was this one game where my mom took both my brothers, and they were little boys, and if you've ever been to a baseball game, it's like 3-4 hours long, easy.
Yeah.
And not only did they sit through the whole game, but my brothers wanted their baseball signed. So they waited an additional 3 hours after the game ended.
Oh my goodness.
Just to get their baseball signed. And so that's the patience I'm talking about. Like they just were just there to let us just be who we are. They didn't rush us. They didn't, they just let us be.
Yeah.
You know, and develop.
Yeah, that's neat. So what middle school did you go to?
Well, I went to 2 because 7th grade is just like on the cusp of, you know, changing schools. So I went to Kansas Middle School. And then when I moved here in the 8th grade, I went to Tibbetts Junior High.
Okay, cool. And then from Tibbetts, you went to Farmington High School.
Yes.
Do you have any funny stories or anything like that about Farmington High that you can...
You know, I kind of just wasn't in a clique per se. In high school, I just kind of floated around. I had a lot of friends who were jocks, who were in the band geeks, who were athletes, who were not athletes, who were just kind of, you know, skipping through school. And I just didn't fit in one area. I just was kind of all over the place. So I don't quite remember right now.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Because I want to go back to you being a kid and growing up in Broken Arrow Bible Camp.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Broken Arrow.
So Broken Arrow Bible Ranch is a camp for kids.
Yes.
It's a little 18 miles south of Gallup towards Zuni. And it's this Christian camp for kids. And they come from 8 to 12-year-olds, and they stay a week. And then they have the middle school age 13, 14, and then 15 to 18 up. And you just stay for a week, and you learn you learn about faith, you learn about God, you go to chapel, you do devotions, and aside from that, you're in the mountains, so you learn how to ride horses, and you do archery and riflery, and you learn teamwork and team bonding, and you stay in these little cabins that don't have a bathroom, so you have to walk outside till you go to the bathroom, and then you have to walk back, and it's really a great place.
Yeah, and you didn't just grow up there, going there every summer as a kid. Like you went there every summer as a teenager, even.
Absolutely. I went 8 years old all the way until I was old enough to work there, which at that time was 15. And I probably went twice a summer, so twice, you know.
Yeah.
And when I worked there at 15, I worked there for about 4 years. I worked 4 summers.
Yeah, and to this day, so I had the experience of going with Steph to Broken Arrow to take some students back when I was a youth minister, and they freaking love this woman. Everybody knows her. Everybody was excited to see her. She was introducing me to everybody, and they wanted to tell me how much they love the ranch and how much, you know, how they've grown into, you know, these wonderful human beings that they are. And I think that just kind of speaks volumes of that experience that you got to have in that place. And I don't know, I think that's a significant part of who you are.
Absolutely, because I went every summer. I made friends all across the country, and to this day I'm still friends with those people.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of years. It's been a lot of years since I've seen these people, but when we get together, it's like no time has passed.
Your friend in the Army, right? She's a friend from Broken Arrow.
Oh, no, Air Force.
Oh, the Air
She's in
Force.
Air Force.
Sorry.
Yes.
And so this friend still sends you packages. You still send her packages.
Sarah, yes.
Yeah, that's a friendship that has never gone away, that you developed at this place.
Absolutely. We went together as campers. You know, we were together, Sarah, and there's a third one, Talea, who is in Texas now. And we all went together as campers, and we grew up, and we all worked together at the same time. And then we still, like, she came through here a couple months ago to visit me.
Neat.
Yeah, we had lunch with her family. And it was an amazing experience for me because this is a person that we grew up as kids. I saw her as kids. And then I went to Tucson and saw her get married. So I saw her as a wife, but I never actually got to see her as a mother. And she's got 4 beautiful kids. And just to sit there and see her interact with these kids as an established mother, I was like, oh my goodness. And she, when I found out I was going to be a mother, she sent me a lot of stuff. And to be honest, I was going through the stuff and I'm like, what's this? What's that? But now I'm going through them. I'm like, oh, this is genius.
Yes.
I need this. Oh my gosh, this works. Like,
and she was a seasoned mom.
She was a seasoned
kids.
mother.
Like,
Yes.
She knows what she's doing.
She absolutely knew, because I'm going through this stuff and I'm like, oh, that's what it's for. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Like, she is a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool. And now your niece and your nephew and all of these kids that are just surrounded by you, you have taken and shared that experience with them.
Absolutely. Haley, so when I was going to camp, she came and she got to see me as a worker. And so she immediately couldn't wait until she was old enough to go to camp. And then she started when she was 8 years old, same thing up until she was old enough to go work at camp.
Yeah.
And then she worked, I think, for 4 summers as well, 5 summers. And so, and now her little brother Andrew is going and he loves it so much and he can't wait till he can work.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing what this place means to us.
Yeah.
And it's just a place where it's home, you know?
Yeah. And I love, we mentioned Haley. I love seeing the posts that she puts on like Instagram and mostly Insta, I think. But talking about the love that she has for that place and how much she misses her friends there and everything. And that just, again, speaks volumes to how special that place is. So we'll tag Broken Arrow Bible Ranch in Steph's episode, so you can definitely look in the description and you'll have a link to that. We'll put that in there.
Okay,
so,
great,
cool. So we did mention Haley, right? And so I would love for you to just share your experience with Haley and who she is for you and to you and all of that.
Okay, well, Haley is my niece. She's the daughter of my brother Brian, and he unfortunately passed away, let's see, I want to say 12 or 13 years ago, I think. And ever since then, it was really no surprise that he might pass away, because he suffered from a traumatic brain injury, which weakened his heart. So he always knew there was a possibility that he wouldn't be around for the long haul.
Yeah.
In one of our conversations, he had mentioned to me and my family as well, is that if that were to happen, he wanted her to come with me.
Yeah.
And so when it did happen, she was 8 years old, very unfortunate situation that our family had to go through. But she, a lot of people praise me for something like that, but I really I don't see it like that. I see it as my brother asked me to do something. And I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have been everything for her.
I did my best, I guess.
I think she's turned out pretty great. So.
She has. She's become a very wonderful person. And she's been with me for that amount of years, 12 or 13 years ago. And it was a whole change for her because she was living in Kayenta at that time. So I had to move to Farmington. She had new school, new friends, new place, all these things that we had to, and I legally had to get guardianship of her just to make sure she would stay put. And so it was that process of going through social services and all these things. And then finally when the judge signed off, she was with me. So and that's how it went.
Yeah.
And it's being 22 or 23 and being an instant parent, how do you do it? Especially having zero experience.
Yeah.
What I had to revert to is just what I learned, what I learned from my parents and what they did and what they didn't do. And we had a learning curve for a lot of years. And then we finally got to a place where we're okay. And the learning curve was just learning to live with this little person and learning to have to get a babysitter, or, in my case, we used the Boys and Girls Club. Make sure she got off because I worked till 5, and being a single parent, that was certainly something to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I had the ability to kind of be in Haley and yours life, I think when she was a junior, right?
I think so.
Pretty sure. Yeah. So she's looking at us. Junior, right? Oh, now she's saying I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I think she was a junior. And you just to sit back and watch you two interact was really neat because, I mean, just going back to how your parents raised you, to be independent and to know how to take care of yourself and to know how to stand up for yourself and to stand up for people that you love and to stand up for people that you care about. I think you definitely instilled that in her. And again, I mean, and you said, people admire me and people want to praise me for this thing that I did, but really I just did what I had to do. And I think that's true. But you have to know that you did a good job. You did.
I don't think it was just me. I also think it was God.
Yeah.
God absolutely was the pinnacle of our lives and helped us, because there's times where it felt like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There was times where Haley was struggling, and it's just those times where you just get on your knees and just pray for God to help.
Yeah.
And he was there for all those important moments.
For sure. And so now Haley is grown-ish. She's, 20?
Yes, she's 20. She's about to graduate with her associate's degree in criminal justice.
Yeah.
And she was on the dean's honor roll or whatever, the principal. It's not the principal's. President's honor roll.
Yeah.
And then she was on the vice president's honor roll. So she's doing really great.
Yeah.
Grade-wise, and she's getting scholarships, and she works hard too. I mean, she makes it seem effortless, but in the backgrounds, we see her like staying up nights and doing homework and writing her paper, and she works hard for everything she's gotten.
Yeah, for sure. And you've taught her that because while you're raising her, you're going to school and you're trying to get your degree. So talk a little bit about what you have done in terms of like your work and those experiences.
Okay, so I have always worked in the law field. Mm-hmm. I've worked in several law offices, and I was going to school for my paralegal's degree, mm-hmm. and that was hard because I've always had to do it part-time because I was full-time working. I had to do part-time school. I had Haley, and then she had all her extracurricular activities such as softball and basketball, and she was in track for 1 year, and just trying to find those moments. And a lot of this was not just me. My parents helped out a ton.
Yeah.
When I couldn't be there, they were there. And they were there to go to all her games and support her in every possible way. There was a lot of times where my dad was catching with her when she was doing softball, mm-hmm. and teaching her how to pitch, and he was really proud to watch her in her games, especially when she became a catcher.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you are a paralegal, right?
Right. Well, right now I work at the Farmington Magistrate Court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, so you just kind of by happenstance figured out that you like working in the field of law, mm-hmm. Whether it's for an attorney or it's for the courts or, whatever. And it's something that you're good at, right? And so kind of talk about a little bit how you just kind of fell into this. Because here's the thing. I think that we talk to young people a lot, and they're very confused and they're very anxious about what they're supposed to be doing. But then, like, I look back on my stuff and I'm like, I went from working for an attorney or actually working at Western Warehouse, where I had to wear cowboy boots and Cruel Girl pants and button-up shirts, and that's totally not my style, but I did it because it was a job. And then, all of these different experiences, and here I am. I work for the Rape Crisis Center now. And so, like, there's a journey that gets you there, right? And so I would just love for you to just share the journey that you kind of took in figuring out, like, how you're a thriving adult right now. Like, you're not struggling. Like, you're a thriving person, a human, right?
Okay, so out of high school, I actually started, and this is probably something no one would ever know, but I actually got my first job was trying to sell knives.
Oh, nice.
I'm
Cutco.
Yeah, Cutco. And a salesman, I am not. I am absolutely not a salesman.
Yeah.
I think I worked just long enough to get my first paycheck, and I was like, nope, can't do it. I'm not. I'm not that person. So what happened is I started working for, I worked for Chili's for a year. I was serving. And then I think it was my dad who saw an ad in the paper for, they needed a receptionist for what they call now is the Disability Law Center.
Oh, yeah.
And so he helped me do my resume. He helped me do my cover letter, all this stuff. And I turned it in and I got that job. And that was several years ago. And I worked there for, I believe, 4 years or 6. I can't quite remember, but it was quite a long time. But I didn't strive at that job at the end only because it took me so far and I wanted to learn more. Yeah. I wanted more and they just couldn't offer more. Yeah. So from there, I started working at the public defender's office. I had a cousin, Celeste, tell me, hey, we're hiring. And I was like, okay. So I did the same thing, did my resume, turned in my cover letter, and I got hired. And I worked there for 3 years. And during that time, I worked for an attorney, Corey Stackhouse, for 2 years. He was just starting out. And then he went off on his own in his own practice for a year. And then he came back and he was like, hey, you want to work for me? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I worked for him for almost 8 years. Yeah. And last year he closed his practice. And so that's why I had to look for other jobs. And just by the grace of God, I got hired at the Farmington Magistrate Court. And I only say that because I had planned to go to school full time. I was going to, just throw myself into school. I was going to apply for scholarships. Like, this is what my plan was. And then I had a friend of mine, Ronnie, tell me, we're hiring at the courts. I don't know. And it was 2 days before they were going to close it. And I had to decide quick. And I just did my resume. I did all my stuff. I turned it in. And actually, I turned it in with an incomplete application. Oh. They weren't even supposed to look at I wasn't even supposed to interview because of my incomplete. And I never applied for any other job. Like, this was the only one. And I was like, God, if you want me to have this job, let me have this job. Yeah. And I said, if not, I'm going to go this route and go to school. And I got the interview. And my boss now told me, I shined in the interview. And so after I finished the interview, they were like, we need this and this. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know I needed that, but sure. And I turned it in and I got hired January 1st was my first day.
Wow, so you've almost been there for a full year.
Almost a full year,
wow.
Yes. And I'm learning so much. Like, it's so fast-paced, and there's so many different areas of the court and it's different to be on this side of it instead of, submitting things to the court. Like, you're submitting it to us. Yes. And it's so different.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. And now you are a mama to sweet little Emma Face.
Yes.
And so just talk a little bit about that experience.
So it's interesting because the both of us, we were single for a long time and we talked about those struggles. Yes. And we talked about how, this may not happen for us.
And we were okay with that.
We were absolutely okay with it. We're like, if this doesn't work, it's fine. And then here we are sitting here and we're both completely in relationships and
super content and happy.
And we were super content and happy then as well.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, 3 years ago, probably, would you say?
Yeah. Oh, man, girl. I mean, from the moment we met, it was like we were best friends because we were both single. And we were like, the struggle is real sometimes. And we were able to just really share in those low moments, I think, and kind of dark moments. Right. And kind of pick each other up. And then also get excited about, weird stuff that was happening and they were happening because we were single. You know what I mean? Right. And so that was something that was really special about our friendship, I think, was that we were able to share those moments together.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And here we are sitting, and I'm married.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm married. And we still have Haley, and I have a child who's 6 months old. And almost 7.
She's such a sweet little nugget. Yeah. She's so cute. And so, so your life has changed huge again.
Yeah, absolutely has completely changed. If you would have told me this like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, you are crazy.
Yeah. I would have said they're crazy. Like you said, Stephanie's going to have a baby in a couple of years. I would have said, no, she's not. Don't. Get out of here.
And my mom, 2 years before I met my husband, my mom told me, you're going to have a baby. And I was like, yeah, right, Mom.
I love
and
you,
she
but...
was like, I know. I'm like, you're a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
Because she said, no, I had a dream. And her dream was she was standing there and she saw this man and his back was toward her. So she didn't see the face, but he was picking up a baby and was comforting the baby. And she was like, that means you're going to have a baby. You're going to get married and have a baby. And I was like, Mom, please.
And now you have a wonderful husband.
Yes.
And little Emma and Haley and Andrew and Olive and Tank.
Yep.
And so how really has your life changed since having a newborn and getting married?
It has absolutely changed so much because I don't have to do the single thing anymore, the single parent. I actually have someone there to help the load. If I can't do something, and he's such a great man. Like, he helps out. He is a total hands-on dad. Like, if I'm struggling with something, he's up. And especially when I was pregnant, and he would be rubbing my feet and making sure I was okay and getting me pickles because unfortunately we lost my dad almost like 3 years ago. And so he unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to meet my husband, but I'm pretty sure he would love him because he's a worker. Like, he builds stuff, and my mom loves him because we're fixing her house now. Like, we're redoing she has a little patio that's falling apart, and he's fixing it. We're going every weekend, and we redid her kitchen. We redid her floors, and we painted her kitchen and did all these things. And so he's a worker for sure. Yeah. My mom loves him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat. So what kind of, you grew up in a small town and in Kayenta and then Farmington. And so you have very special values and very unique outlook on life. And so what sort of things do you sort of anticipate and hope to pass on to Emma?
I just for one, don't, and I have instilled this in Haley ever since she was little, like, don't ever judge, especially if it comes to trying something new. Like, try it first and then form your opinion. Don't just, don't stand off of it right away just because you don't like the way something looks, the way something may taste, all these things. That's how I got her into shrimp.
Yeah.
She was like, no, it looks gross. And I'm like, well, try it first and then make your opinion. Like, you can't judge something right away. And that has been something I have just put in her brain forever. And that's something I would want her to do because I want her to travel and I want her to experience life the way I did. And I feel like I actually kind of love the fact that I became a mom at such a later age, than most people, because I traveled a ton, and I through example, Haley's traveling now. I hope that she travels a lot too as well, because when it's all said and done, I'm at the point where I'm okay. I'm okay staying here and raising a family, and I'm okay doing those things. Yeah. And so, and not to say I'm stopping for sure. I'm going to travel as soon as Emma can.
Yeah.
But I would want her those experiences for her. And growing in a small town, I like the fact that we have a circle of friends we would trust, absolutely. Especially when our church, found out I was pregnant. They were like, they threw me a baby shower. They did all these things. And there was a time where I broke you remember when I broke my ankle?
Oh my gosh. We should tell that story.
Yes. So we're on a youth trip.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we are at the end of it. We're heading home, and we stop at
literally. We are almost home, like halfway home.
We stop in Colorado Springs at Mel, our pastor at the time, Melinda, her sister's house. And I swear, I'm just like, people are like, "What'd you do? What'd you do? All this stuff? Did you fall off?" And I'm like, "No, all I did was take a step. I just literally took one step to leave." And I lost my balance, and I went to catch myself with my other leg, and I broke my ankle in 3 places.
It was the worst thing ever. Oh my gosh. Like, even just thinking about it makes my heart race a little bit. And I didn't even experience it. I was just in charge of you.
And I remember all the kids around me like concerned and scared, and inside I am hurting, like I have so much pain, but I'm like, do not cry. That's all I kept telling myself. Do not cry. Do not cry.
You waited until it was just you and I. And then you're like, okay.
As soon as we got in the car and rounded that corner and those kids did not see me, I cried.
Yes.
So if any of the youth kids are listening, I did. I was not a tough guy at all.
Oh my goodness. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when I broke my ankle and we were heading home, like the church completely surrounded us. Like they brought me meals every day. So I didn't have to worry about cooking, or Haley didn't have to cook or anything of those nature. You know, they came and they brought all these foods for like a week. I couldn't believe it. My mom was like, I didn't even think people still did this, but they did. They absolutely did.
Yeah.
And sweet Betty, she was like, I could just take you home. Come home with me and I'll take care of you. And I was like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that was the independent thing that we were talking about, was really hard for me because my mom came and she helped me for a week, and she was cleaning, and it was so hard for me to do because I was trying to, with my crutches, and I was trying to clean, and my mom was just getting after me, lay down.
Yes.
And after weeks and months have passed, I asked my mom about that. I said, was that hard for you to come and take care of me? And she was like, yeah, it was. And I said it was, and she was like, yeah, only because you're too independent.
You wouldn't stop.
You're too independent. Like, you would not let me take care of you.
Yes. You're so independent that you busted one of the screws.
Yes.
I was so mad when you told me you did that and you had to get surgery again. I was like, Stephanie.
That's exactly what happened. Like, it was hard for me to be, because you're independent so much that it's hard to go back to being mothered, and that was hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so is there, I don't know, I feel like there's so many more stories. But is there anything else that you want to share and that you want to talk about before we say goodbye?
Well, at the moment I can't quite think of it.
That's pretty much the unanimous, like that's how everybody responds.
Your guests, I've been listening, and your guests have set the bar pretty high. So let's see.
No, this is great. No, I just appreciate you coming on. So just a little fun fact about Steph and I. We fell out of touch for a while. And we had lunch together like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. And I was just like, baby mentioned it, like, hey, I got this podcast. You should go on. And you were like, I'll think about it. And always, whenever I ask people to come on, they always say, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm like, we'll figure out some stuff. And then always the next one is, Brandi, I don't think I'm going to be able to talk for that long. And I'm like, nah, you will. P.S. We've been talking for like 37 minutes or so.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you're golden, by the way. But really, Steph, like, I just am really thankful that we did reconnect. And it's because of church that we reconnected. I stopped going to church for a while just because of some things that were happening in my life. And then I just show up one night and I wanted to go to your baby shower and something happened. I can't even remember what happened. And, my Haley and I, we weren't able to go to your baby shower. And then it was like, crap, we missed Steph's baby shower. And then out of sight, out of mind, right? And so then I saw you randomly, I think it was at Melinda's going away party.
Yes.
And I was like, I miss my friend so much. I do. And then it was just like that place where I was like, I just don't know if this is awkward or if I'm like crossing boundaries. Like, what do you do? And so to somebody out there, like when you just fall out of touch with somebody who's so important in your life, just be bold and say what's up and go to lunch and hold their baby and and pray over their baby if you're, if that's something that you do, and make them smile because, man, like that, seeing Emma and seeing you as a mom now and seeing you as a wife, I haven't ever even met your husband.
Actually, when we got married, it was super, super small. Like,
yeah.
And that was kind of like both of us agreed that we wanted a super, super small wedding because I feel like I'm too old for the big wedding. I feel like that was the young people's game. And we just wanted it just quick and to the point and just family is just what we had there,
Yeah.
you know, so
and that's
small.
good
Yeah.
because it fits you.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, I am just thankful that we were bold together. Like, I held your baby and I was like, I don't know if she's gonna let me hold her baby, but you did. And I love that little nugget. And then going to lunch with you and just spending that time with you is something that I'm so thankful. And this is something that I'm gonna cherish always, is knowing that we're still friends and you're still in my life, and it's just a little different because we're not single anymore.
I know. That's the crazy thing. Like, when I was sitting here, I'm like, man, we talked about being single for a long time and we were
Yes.
okay with it. Like, we absolutely were just content with ourselves. And
Yeah.
now here we are, just all hooked up and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, there's no other way to describe it but good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just glad that you're in my life again.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I know the moment that you first saw me and Emma, like, you had the tears in your eyes, and I was like, you made me, like, the two of us are one and the same. I think we're cut from the same cloth when it comes to emotional stuff.
Just wear it on your sleeve.
Yep. And when you get emotional, I get emotional. And we're just in there in tears together.
Yes. And no other way to describe it but good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that you're in my life.
I'm thankful for you too.
Yay.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you're doing this. Like, it's good to hear you again.
Yeah. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So, and it's really satisfying to be able to give somebody the opportunity to just share their story.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I love that too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And
America.
Listen, America, you need to like and share this episode and tell all your friends about it. Because this has been another episode, another week of A Small Town Story on Small Town Expectations. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.